What up, everybody? This is Darian Hunt from Live Life Fearless. Welcome back to another episode of The Fearless Show. Today's date is April 5th, 2018. With me, as always, is my co-host, Mr. Dries Walker. Say what up to everybody.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to The Fearless Show. I am artist D. Walker. We got, as usual, our co-host Shannon. Say what's up to everybody.
What's up?
Hi, everybody. Does that make me a regular person now?
She
is
is
5 enough?
I think
She's
you're
a regular.
officially
You're a regular at this point.
Yay!
You're a regular now. Yeah. You're the co-host.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. But speaking of the co-host, she reached out and brought a guest with us. Introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mihai. I'm a 24-year-old photographer and musician from Sacramento area. Thank you guys for having me on your show.
Definitely.
A little nervous, but it's okay.
Thanks for coming through, man.
Yeah.
Don't be nervous.
Yeah, no worries.
I'll loosen up once
you're
I
just
start
talking
talking.
Yeah, there we go.
For the second week in a row, Shannon brought somebody else, so shout out to Shannon.
I did.
You did. So I would say you're regular for sure now. You're bringing in the guests, so can't complain.
Yes. That's exciting.
But
we actually know each other too, Casey and I.
yeah, how do you guys know each other?
What's that?
How do you guys know each other?
So
The
Casey,
two of us?
Yes.
Or them two? Oh, the two of us?
Or you and Casey and
you,
all three
you
of
go,
you. How about
you
all
go
three
first.
all three of
Yeah.
us went to high school together. I saw when Shannon posted it, she shared the link with Casey's podcast, and
Well,
I had to check it out immediately because so Casey and I actually even worked together for a short amount of time. When she's from this area, but she goes to school in Chico. So when she was home for the summer, she had a part-time job working in the same place as I do at a coffee shop called Dutch Brothers. And so that was kind of a trip. It was like, oh, small world. I haven't seen you since we got out of high school, and now we work together. So yeah, and I knew she drew and all that. So when I saw I'd been keeping up with your guys', I saw Shannon sharing all the posts for the Fearless Show, and I saw that she got on. And then when I saw the podcast with Casey, I was like, oh, this is cool. This is making connections.
Yeah.
You forgot to put the word obnoxiously, because all I do on my social media now is shamelessly promote myself.
I love it. Keep shameless plugging away. I love it.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
That's what I do.
Yeah, good for you, because I do not yet know how to do that. I am.
Man, it's the life of a creator, though. You gotta,
Yeah, at this point, you kind of have to.
At all
You kind of
times.
have to. You kind of have to do that nowadays on every social media platform to kind of cut through the noise and kind of get yourself out there now.
I used to feel really bad when Instagram, before they changed the way you see posts on Instagram, I used to feel so bad because I would post 6-7 times a day, 8 times a day. So,
Right.
But now you only see the relevant posts. So if I post 10 photos in one day, it's only the one that gets the most likes that's going to show up. So I don't feel so bad if I do decide to blow up my Instagram feed. And I kind of do with how I post my photos on there. So I kind of do it.
Yeah.
I do it as a mosaic. So anytime I post a photo, I'm really posting 6 or 9.
Yeah, so how does that, I've always wondered about the mosaic posting on Instagram. So you're posting 6 at a time. So when it comes on the timeline feed, especially now when it comes on the timeline feed, it's comes off definitely unordered. So
yeah, that's right. That I always thought that would be interesting to people. Like if they are scrolling through and they see, wait, what's this? This photo kind of looks the same as, oh, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then that kind of spurs that curiosity to go check out my page.
Yeah.
And then they see the whole thing. The reason why I started doing that in the first place was because I would find myself often looking at my photos. I would zoom in and I'd find specific parts of my photos where I'm like, I really like that detail in there. But when you post it on Instagram, not everyone's going to zoom in. Not everyone's going to see that part of it. So And I had seen other photographers do this. There's one photographer named Patrick Joust, who's actually from Oroville, California originally, which is an hour from here. He posts all of his photos like that. He posts them as a mosaic, and he actually does a really, really good job on his Instagram at making everything look aesthetic and cohesive. And so I was really inspired by how his photos looked, and I'm like, I'm gonna try this out with my photos and see if it makes a difference. And yeah, I love the way it looks now. It just like it looks way cooler on my Instagram than just regular photos.
Yeah,
although the guy that does it, the Patrick Joust guy, he uses a gigantic camera. He's got a medium format camera, which is just, I mean, you get so much detail out of those photos. You could blow them up to the size of a building, and you probably wouldn't lose any detail.
Yeah, I remember it starting on.
Sounds like an expensive piece of equipment.
People started doing the mosaic posting, maybe I don't know, maybe 3-4 years ago. And now I definitely see it being more used by photographers, and specifically photographers, and kind of showing off their work on a greater scale.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I've been scrolling through on your page too. It's like really cool because there's like that one shot with what looks like a dragonfly kind of close up.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so that's really cool that it's like a close up shot like you were just describing, but then like you go to your page and then you see it's part of a larger photograph.
Yeah, I
like that.
I love the way that one turned out, because when you look at it, it almost looks like the dragonfly's like 3D, like sticking out a little bit at you. And I didn't even notice that while I was posting it. When I actually had it posted and I went back and looked at the whole thing, I was like, this is better than I expected it to be. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. The focus is great on it.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, thank you.
Shot. That definitely stood out to me too.
That's actually a pretty old photo. So I've been in this kind of a phase where I've just been going back and picking out old photos that I never really used. The last year and a half, I haven't photographed as much as I've edited, because I already have tens of thousands of photos. I don't do this as much anymore, but I had a tendency of just kind of spraying when I shot. I would just click, and take as many photos as I could. I would end up with, from one session, I would have like 400 photos, sometimes 1,000, depending on who I was photographing with. And then, you go back and you upload those, and then it's like, oh my God, I don't want to sit there.
Now you got to go through 1,000 of them.
So a lot of them
just
sat there for years. And I kind of like that though, because I've ran into this a lot, where I'll take photos and then I go and look at them immediately after I take them later that day, and I'm like, I don't like these. These didn't turn out as good as I thought they did. And then I come back 6 months later or a couple of months later, and I look at them and I'm like, okay, I love this now. And like, now that I've given it some time, I don't know why it works like that, but it happens to me all the time.
I mean, same with me. Like whenever I design something, like I pretty much don't throw away or delete almost anything. So like when I do something and maybe I don't like it like at that moment, but then I'll think of something and I'll look back at it and I'll look at it in a completely different way, or I'll think about doing it and like tweaking it in a different way, and it just kind of grows on you over time, or you just see it look like definitely from a different perspective over time than you normally would like when you first do it. Because there's a lot of that times where like you do something like, nah, I don't feel this at all, and then I don't know, later on it's like, okay, well maybe I did have something.
Got to give it some time to marinate.
Yeah, give that space.
I've had some issues in the past with friends, because we'd be hanging out and I would take photos, and I just love to take photos. I'm like, if I have my camera around me, it doesn't matter who's around me, I'm gonna photograph whatever I find interesting. But I would be with friends, and then they'd be like, "Oh, you're gonna send me those photos, right? Like, you made me look cool. Like, I'm gonna get those back."
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'll get you those.
I can't wait to see them.
It's like, it's hard for me to let go of a photo if I don't really have some sort of emotional connection to it, and I know that's like the complete opposite of what a business practicing photographer would do. But I guess
you're an artist, man.
I'm not that kind of photographer.
I mean, your friends just want that Instagram selfie anyway, so
they want those likes.
It's gonna go on the gram anyway. That's all they want.
I don't
So,
mind as long as they give me credit.
so what has been like your experience as like being a photographer and social media these days?
Hmm. So I made my Instagram. So yeah, I've had Instagram now for 6 years. It's definitely been a dynamic relationship with Instagram, like from what it was when I started doing it to how I feel about it now. I've kind of come full circle in a way now. Several years ago, I kind of hated it and I didn't want to post on Instagram at all. When I first started using Instagram, I was in love with it. It was something I became obsessed with just because it was finally a place where I could upload my photos. At that point, I had been photographing and taking photos, doing photography. I had taken photography classes in high school. I'd been doing it for a long time. I just didn't have a medium to really share my photographs. I would post some things on Facebook here and there, and I had like
Yeah.
an album on my Facebook with my photography. None of it was edited. It was just all completely straight out of the camera. So when Instagram kind of opened my eyes to photo editing, and when I started doing that, I just became obsessed with it, and I did it all the time. That was, like I said earlier, that was back when I was posting 9, 10 times a day, blowing up my feed, and even at one point it became what kind of kept me at this one job. My first job, I worked at J.C. Penney's in the mall, and I absolutely hated it. But what I really, really liked doing, and I started doing this like halfway through my time there, is I would go out on my 15-minute break and take photos of the architecture in the mall, because there was a lot of cool like steel beams and windows, and light would come in at all sorts of cool angles. It's like when you're in a cool airport, just looking around like, oh my God, everything looks good under this light. So I started doing that on my 15-minute breaks. I'd walk around the mall, take photos of the architecture, and then come back. And then on my 30-minute break, on my lunch break, I would edit all those photos. And I would try within those 30 minutes to edit and post as many as I could because I loved it so much.
Nice.
And I did that for a long time. I did that I did that while I worked at J.C. Penney's, but I continued to take photos and edit them through Instagram and post for
I used to work at
years
J.C. Penney's too.
until I don't know what. Really? What department were you? What department were you?
I worked in the men's department.
Hey,
so
me too.
I would like, oh yeah, yeah. You used to have to like check everybody, like, oh, I don't know my shirt size, you know, your dress shirt. So
Yeah,
like,
and Docker.
and to pull out the tape measure and wrap it around. Like,
Dude, I had to do that. Oh man, Friday
Yeah.
mornings at my J.C. Penney, it was like senior day. For some reason,
Oh,
all the senior
man.
citizens would show up on Friday mornings. Oh God,
Oh, that's
They would
crazy.
return.
I worked at,
What's up?
that was such a weird time. That was like my first job, I think, actually, was J.C. Penney's.
Okay. Yeah, it's a great
crazy.
first job to have. But yeah, so during that time I did a lot of cell phone photography. I like took all my photos on my phone and edited them on my phone. And then eventually I was like, hold on, I have a digital camera and there are programs for editing digital
Mm.
photos. I should probably start looking into this. So I made it a goal to save up money and buy a camera body and buy Lightroom and Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that, and that was about 4 years ago in 2014. I finally got my first camera, which was my own. Up until that, I had been just kind of borrowing my dad's equipment, and my dad's kind of the reason I like began taking photos in the first place. So finally, I got my own. I got my own gear. I bought a a used Canon 5D Mark II body, and I found
Nice.
actually me and my best friend both got the exact same camera at the exact same time because I found a guy selling two of the same bodies on Craigslist. He was selling one that was a little bit older
Mhm.
with less clicks on it, and then another one that was newer but with more clicks on it. And I contacted him and I was like, "Hey man, if I buy both of those, will you like cut me a deal?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure."
Right.
So
Nice.
I immediately called my friend and I'm like, "Dude, I found two cameras. They're the same. This is perfect. You and I can like photograph all the time together. Like, let's go buy these
Right.
tomorrow." And so we did.
Heck yeah.
We went and got the cameras. And so once I did that, that was also like another kind of spur of wanting to post on Instagram all the time because now I had like now it went from photos on my cell phone that I was taking to like really high quality, like 24 megapixel photos taken on a full frame camera. I was like, this is awesome. But it's definitely, I mean, I've never had any sort of opportunities come up from social media. Like no one's ever like reached out to me and been like, oh my God, I like your work. Like, would you like to do this? Or would you like to, pay you for this? The only kind of thing like that that's happened has been from people who actually know me in real life. And they're like, hey, do you want to photograph my cousin's baby shower? Like, some shit like that. Like,
you might not be using the right hashtags. You got to do that nowadays.
I tried the hashtag thing for a while, man, and I felt so obnoxious.
It is.
You know what? I was just talking about that too, and how weird it was, but it's not weird anymore. Like that at first, saying all this stuff and like stuff that you wouldn't even say normally, but it's a good hashtag to tag on that photo. Yeah. It's like, it's annoying, but then you think about it, and like I tried this the other day, honestly, with like a drawing that I did. And I put Christian art on it, like hashtag Christian art, because it had a cross. And low key, somebody sent me a message like, "Oh, I'm in the process of looking for Christian art to like blah blah blah." Hit like ask me about, and I was like, "What?" And I was like, a tag I would never hashtag, but like I put it on, and then somebody was like, "Hey," and so it was just like, if you think about tags that you wouldn't really use, but it would work still for the photograph, you might get like looks for it.
What did you say? What did you say to this guy? I'm kidding.
Well, it was this woman actually. She's apparently like organizing some sort of online gallery / store that's like for a children's organization. So I haven't really gone back and forth yet, because this was like a day or two ago.
Okay.
So like,
but she's interested
I was just
in
like,
art.
oh, thanks. Yeah, I was just like, thanks. All you do is like, I just start with a thank you, and then promptly ask like, oh, tell me more about this thing you were talking about, and then see what they say after that. They usually give you a little bit more information, and if you're still interested, it could probably go to email or a different platform than the DMs,
yeah.
Or DMs on a different platform. Facebook sometimes is easier. The messages.
I used hashtags on certain photos for contests, because I would follow other photography pages on Instagram.
Yeah.
And anytime they would do certain contests, it'd be like, use this hashtag. So I would go back and I would hashtag all the photos that I thought were fitting for that contest. I would throw hashtags on them. And what I did at one point too is I would post a photo with some sort of caption, and then I would comment underneath that a bunch of hashtags, so that way you don't see the hashtags off the bat.
Yeah.
It kind of hides them. Because I always had this kind of shameful feeling about just writing all these hashtags out, and I know it shouldn't, how it is.
I just give it a good space. Just a space between. I'll use the hashtag. Sometimes I'll use hashtags I want, like in a sentence, so I don't have to reuse the same words. So that'll just be the first part, and then I'll like paragraph it, so there's like a good space there, and then I'll just blurb like all the hashtags are here, so then they don't have to read that part. Then just read this part at the top, and then like if that looks weird, you can skip it.
I mean, it's pretty much the norm nowadays, so I don't think you don't have to be too shameful. I remember when Instagram was first out and people started doing it, it was like, oh, like, what are you doing? Like, but now it's it's business now. Like, you have to almost. You gotta be obnoxious in people's face nowadays to kind of cut through everything.
I think if
definitely hashtag your name too on certain things, because it'll build a portfolio online.
Yeah, nice.
Just your name.
Yeah.
So that hashtags are good, because people can just hashtag your name on like Google or something. And all those things that you've hashtagged your name with would probably come up.
Smart.
True.
Make like my hand.
I kind of get what you're saying though, because like I'm not a photographer or anything, obviously, if you've seen my Instagram, but I don't know, just like for me, using hashtags just in general, you feel like you're, especially with your art on your Instagram, like you feel like you're muddying something like pure. Like, you don't want to, like, mess it up with, like, you feel like you're selling yourself out. And you don't want to, like, make it a commercial thing. You want it to be what it is.
Make it all messy.
But at the same time, you want people to see it. So, like, it's a hard you're in a, what's that saying?
Right.
Rock and a hard place. Between a rock and a hard place.
Oh yeah, you're in a rock and a hard place.
That one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see where you're coming from though.
True.
I'm actually at a pretty interesting crossroad right now, just in general in life, with not just photography, but I also play music, and any content that I create, I'm at that point where I'm trying to figure out, is this something that I want to do for money and for other people, or is this something that's just purely special to me? Almost, not quite a hobby, because I feel like using the word hobby underplays it. Like, it's got a way more profound meaning to me than just hobby. It's almost like therapeutic. Like, if I go a period of time without creating any sort of music or creating any sort of photographs, I just start to feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, like what I'm here to do.
Oh, I feel like that too. If I haven't drawn something or like done any kind of art creating, like probably after a week or two, I'll be like, I'll start feeling it and be like, oh, I don't feel good. Like,
Yeah, like you're
mentally
time.
I won't feel strong. Yeah. Like, what am I doing? I should be making something,
It's also, I kind of lost my train of thought, but I guess what I was trying to say with it is that with stuff like that, the best moments that I have are always when no one's around. Like, some of the best moments that I have with photography or with music or any sort of content creating thing, there's just me, and it happens, and in that moment it makes me feel a certain way, and it reminds me, like, this is why I started doing this is why I love doing this is why it's special to me. And that's why I'm like kind of at a conflict, like, is this something that I really want to make money off of, or something that I want to be like self-promoting and like pushing on to people? Like, if it's just meaningful to me and it's what I love at the end of the day, that's all that matters. But you got to make a living somehow.
Yeah, I mean, that's isn't it like the age-old question with creators and stuff, is just that conflict between being commercial but then still staying true to like why you started doing it or why you're doing it in the first place. Because then, like you said, you still got to pay the bills, and like it's nice to make money doing like what you love to do anyway, so you can still keep doing what you're doing, but then you don't want to like lose the purpose of what you're doing by making money from it. So
exactly. Like when you sit down and you're doing something like, oh, I have to do this because I have to get paid, or I got to get these photos edited because this person wants to pay me for it. It's just not the same as when you're doing it passion driven. It comes.
Oh, it's so true. That's why I stopped doing commissions. Like, people would always ask me to draw like a portrait of some family member or something, like, oh, can you draw, or my dog, like, can you draw my sister's pet, or something like that. But I just couldn't do it anymore. I was like, nah. Even though I was making like, I could make some money when I was really poor. I would just like offer like $35-$50 portraits just to like slave over it, but I would hate every second of it.
35 portraits?
Yeah, well, like, if I needed a plane ticket to go somewhere, I'd post
out,
online. I'd use the social media and be like, hey guys, I got this many slots open. Like, who wants a drawing? And then I would say like how much and what size, and then basically people would hit me up for the size and the price and send me the picture. And then I would just sweatshop it and get paid for like 2 weeks of work. And then like I could go where I needed to go. Like,
how long would
how I got to.
How long would it even take to bust out 35 portraits? I mean, I can like hardly draw a stick figure, man. Like, I just.
Well, the problem with that is it's a style of drawing that I hate doing. So it's just like, because it's not coming from me like in this like, oh, it has to be my organic style, and people have to remember me for it. Nobody has to know who the artist is. They just want a good drawing of like, so like it's not about me. Yeah, it's about a drawing and like whoever they want it of. So with those, I just do a grid. I just make a grid drawing, and then so basically it's just a classical. I just quick outline lightly, and then I know where all the composition is, the eyes and stuff, and then the shading, and so I can probably do a portrait like when I do those 11 by 14 ish in like 3 hours or 4 hours. So if I had a few days, if I had like 2 weeks, I could probably knock
Now
it
you
out.
get your
If I
Bob
didn't have a
Ross
job
on.
at that
I
time.
feel you.
Yeah, man. You just when you know how to put the puzzle together already, you just
Yeah,
put
you
the
can just
puzzle
fill in the
together,
pieces. Yeah.
You're just like, well, it's a lot of pieces, but I know where they go, so you just put them together real fast.
I mean, it's like the same thing that we go through, just like as our brand and stuff. So like we write a lot of content, create like a lot of original content, but then obviously at some point you have to start bringing in money and stuff. So we're going through a thing where we're starting to do like more branded and sponsored stuff, but like while I don't like doing that stuff, and I like avoid doing like the Google advertising and stuff like on our website and stuff because that looks cheesy and terrible. So I don't like doing that. But doing the sponsored and like branded stuff, it's like a necessary thing so that we can do the bigger stuff that we want to do, and like so you can like even though you don't like doing it, but then it's for a purpose still. It's so that you can really do what you want to do, like the more creative aspects. So like I hate doing the branded and the sponsored posts and all that, but it's like a necessary thing, especially if you don't want to just sell out and just start posting like advertising all over your website and stuff like that. Like that's just so it's like it's something that every like content creator goes through, like no matter what form they're in, if they want to keep putting out like content, basically.
I took a first step, I guess, about 6 weeks ago. I decided to make a second Instagram because I've been using the same Instagram since I started, and at one point it kind of was a place where I was posting my photographs, like my art, but I was also posting things that I was doing in my life, like random things or little videos or photos of my cats looking cute or something like that. And then I finally came to the conclusion, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to push this, like if I'm going to go forward as a photographer and this is my photography account, I should probably separate the two and make like a personal Instagram account where I can post photos of my food or, the things that people post about nowadays, because that's what Instagram has become. It is no longer just for photographers posting their artwork. It's
memes
for everyone to post, memes and videos and all sorts of things. So it's definitely it's kind of an oversaturated place for photography. I know you asked me earlier, like what my journey has been with social media.
Yeah, because I remember like Instagram when it first started, it was like a great place for like especially photographers specifically to get their like pictures and photos out there and like in a really nice way, and then with the filters and everything. But then obviously, like you said, as it becomes more popular, everybody kind of jumps on, and then kind of it's harder to get. It kind of loses its meaning when it's so much out there at the same time. So
that was something I was kind of upset and resentful for a little while. I got into this headspace where I was like, why am I bothering posting these things? Why am I sharing my content and getting 15 likes a photo, but then, this other person who's just posting photos of their, I don't know, their parties, their whatever, their fraternity parties or their swimsuit parties or like them working out and they're getting like 3,000 likes. I'm like, it was very defeating, but then I had to like calm myself down and remember like, dude, it's not about that.
It's not.
I'm doing it.
Yeah, I mean, if you get involved in that, there's accounts for like dogs and cats specifically that have their own accounts that have like millions of followers. So it's like you can't compete with that.
I have a couple friends out here whose pets have their own Instagram pages.
Yeah, own Instagram pages.
Maybe I should
bringing in
do
millions.
that. I have 3 cats and 1 dog. I love taking. Maybe I should do that. Maybe that will be my.
You could.
I could use that as in the same way like some rappers will use mumble rap to break through the noise, and then they show off how talented they actually are.
Yeah, they're like, oh, but I do this too, and they're like, oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Exactly. Maybe that's not a bad idea.
Yeah. It's crazy nowadays because, like you said, like there's dogs and cat accounts specifically, and like they sell merchandise and make so much money off them. It's insane.
My boyfriend's sister's bunny's Instagram account has more followers than her Instagram account.
Yeah,
I think that says
it's
a lot.
crazy.
Her bunny?
Yeah, my boyfriend's sister has a bunny and that has its own Instagram account, and it has more followers than her personal Instagram account.
Better be a cute ass bunny.
By a lot.
Really? Oh, that makes me interested. I kind of want to look at my friend's Instagram and see what hers looks like, because one of my friends has a peacock, and that peacock has its own Instagram page. So I wonder who's got more followers.
It's crazy now, especially now
Dexter the
Instagram.
peacock.
Like, if you click on
Shout
one
out to
picture,
Ventico.
if you click on one picture of a
What's
dog,
the
there's
name?
like a continuous
Oh, Dexter the peacock.
Dexter the peacock.
And
See, that's
I'm
kind
following
of,
that.
I
it's
said,
just
shout out Ventico's the
I'm about to
owner.
look at it right now. Hold on.
Dexter the Peacock rolls off the tongue nice, so I can see.
Why?
See how people.
Yeah.
Serious question. How does she have a peacock, and why?
Yeah.
Well, that's a question I'd probably ask her, maybe in the future on an interview. But actually, the reason, a short answer is that the peacock's partner. So peacock's mate for life. Its partner died, and then the peacock freaked out. So they'd either have to put it like down, or like somebody had to take it. So like she tried to take it to a different like facility, and then that facility couldn't keep the peacock because he was going crazy. Because
sure
he
he
was
was telling
alone and
something.
sad, and like they're like, okay, he's not cool with the rest of the peacock. So basically, she got him as a emotional. What are those dogs that you can get like an emotional support animal? So
She got it listed as a
Dexter's an
support
official
animal?
emotional
Yeah.
support animal. And that's he's basically because
I'm looking right now. She's got it on a leash.
Dexter will only stay with her. Basically, he freaks out every time he goes to a facility.
Aw.
Yeah,
She has it. Literally
yeah.
has it on a
She
leash.
walks him.
Walking
Oh my
around
God, I didn't know you
Brooklyn.
could
Oh yeah,
put a peacock
there
on
she
a
is. Shout out Ventico. Hell yeah, that's her. Yo, Dexter be at art shows and shit.
Well, she got like 16K followers, so she got more than us.
Well, she's
I gotta
a
start posting
photographer
animals
as
on
well. She's a photographer, dope photographer as well out here.
Gotta get in the
Hey, a
meme
peacock
business.
is not a dog. A peacock is a peacock, so I can see why it has so many. I'm gonna go follow her right now. So I want to see some.
There we go.
Okay,
Hell
I think
yeah.
I need to hop on this bandwagon and probably
Yeah,
follow
man.
her as well.
See, I told you the pet game. See,
One thing I've noticed with all the different people now, I mean, everyone is kind of a photographer nowadays, like, or has the
Yeah.
ability to be a photographer
Yeah,
because
especially with the cameras. I mean, phones and cameras.
exactly. There's the cameras on cell phones now are,
It's really
you know,
good.
in some cases better than entry level cameras were 5 years ago,
Yeah.
and it's kind of opened up the opportunity for everyone to be a photographer, and it's been really interesting to see that, like, how many different styles there can be. I mean, just depending on where you live and what you're surrounded by, what your environment is, it kind of ends up dictating what your content will be. And there was, at least several years ago, there was a big fad with like big city photography, like
Yeah.
things like kids climbing on the cranes and climbing on rooftops and doing crazy ass reckless shit, like where you could die all to get that shot.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Mhm.
it's not like fine art by any means, but it's definitely there was so much of it and so much content like that being put out where it's inevitable for it, like photography to just push forward, like to go forward. It's definitely like with the influx of all these people becoming photographers, you know, over a long enough timeline, some of those people, the ones that actually are into it, will stick with it and will become really good at it. And it's just going to, I mean, I think it's pushing photography as a whole forward so fast, just in the last, like, you know, 8, however long Instagram's been around. I think it launched in 2010 or 2011. Just in the last 8 years, how much things have moved forward with photography. And now, I mean, it's gone from, like, you used to see gadgets and things for your camera, and now they have gadgets for your phone camera, like lenses and tripods and all these little things.
They have stuff you can make feature films with your phones now.
Yeah, they did. Unsane was the last movie that just came out. They shot everything on the iPhone.
Wait, are
That's
you
crazy.
serious?
Yeah, it came out in
Like-
theaters and everything.
Yeah. I need to go
entirely
see that
shot,
movie.
entirely shot with like one of those gimbals, so that it stabilizes and just an iPhone, regular iPhone,
That's mind blowing.
feature length film. So like, are you happy that you think it's like you think it's good like that's expanding the field so much, or do you think that because there's so much, it kind of can devalue like what the truly great stuff is?
Um, both. I see both sides of it. I see. I've definitely gone from being kind of upset
That
by
initial wave
the
for sure.
oversaturation of photographers and content to now kind of, it's almost like, are you a pessimist or you're an optimist? So I'm trying to be optimistic about it and just think that, this will end up being beneficial towards photography as an art form over the next 15, 20 years. Because I think of it like I would try to imagine like, I don't know, like a little kid like an inner city kid, and he sees these older kids around him taking photos and doing stuff like that. And he's like, wow, I want to do that. And then he gets into photography. Say his first exposure to photography is this kind of intense, going out, climbing rooftops or going into crazy or exploring urban places that are dilapidated. And that's kind of what your exposure is to photography. Like, I can only imagine what that photographer will be like in 10, 15 years when they've actually spent the time doing stuff like that. They'll be amazing. Their content will be totally different than what's happening now. And I've seen that. I mean, there was one guy I followed. He went by Noves at one point. His name's Ryan Perilla. He's a photographer from New York City. But I remember him several years ago when he kind of, broke through all the noise and started becoming relevant. They were basically calling him a prodigy. He's a 16-year-old prodigy. And lo and behold, his environment is New York City. And that's what he does. He finds rooftops in New York City and he posts up before sunrise and takes these amazing photos of New York City from angles and perspectives that you don't normally get to see the city from. And that's like, this kid's been doing photography for not that long. He's fairly new to it compared to some professionals. And it's incredible to see that because of where he started and because of what is out at the time that he's getting into it and what he's being influenced by, it's his content is so different than other people. And I consider it.
What's his name? I want to look him up real quick.
Ryan Perilla. I think his photos are almost like on the verge of visionary. There's layers to his photos. There's a lot of stuff where he's photographing reflections through windows, and you can see a reflection, and then you can see through the window too, and it's almost like textured, like you're looking at 5 different photos in one. I believe he just goes by Ryan Perilla on Instagram now, but his name used to be Noves on there.
I mean, it's gotta starting kids out this young and exposing them to like photography and pictures and just film and everything. Like, it has to have an impact on like how kids are developing their eye, at such a young age, for sure. Because you're so exposed to it now, versus you'd have to, like, when I was coming up, you'd have to specifically go to like, if I want to do movies, like I got to go to like a class to like kind of learn about that stuff. But now you see it like every day with GoPros and like the camera phones and everything. Now it's like, it has to have an impact on like how kids are developing their eye so much earlier and just looking at things like differently than they would have back in the day when they were that same age,
And I compare. I mean, like I said, I'm also into music, so I look at that same kind of thing going on in music, where now music production is a lot more accessible to anyone. I mean, 15, 20 years ago, if you wanted to make a single, make a record, do anything, you'd have to go to a producer or into a studio. But now, because home recording has gotten so good, anyone can be a recording artist from home. And in the same way, there are teenage kids who are picking up the guitar or getting into music with these advanced tools that years ago were only available to professionals. They will eventually, as they get older and become masters at this, once they put in their 10,000 hours, they're going to be incredible. Their content's going to be like beyond what I or other people, who are older will ever be able to create. I'm excited. I mean, if I live long enough, I'm excited to see that kind of stuff. Like,
people don't think about like art and creators and creation like in terms of like with sports. So like with sports, like I'm an athlete, like it's always like the next generation, like they always take things so much farther than like what we did and like what they were doing at like a young age compared to what we were doing at the age. Like it just seems so much crazier that they can do all this stuff and that they're doing all this now, just because that knowledge and stuff is just passed down and they learn so much, and especially now with everything ever done is like online, so like you can see and you can learn from this like when you're really really young now, so it's crazy.
Yeah, I definitely have to thank YouTube for a lot of what I learned about photography and music in general.
It's taught me many things.
Anything you need to know, and just quick YouTube search. I actually found out recently that there's more content on YouTube like than there is on all of Google, but I don't know how that would make sense. Somebody was trying to tell me that. Like the amount of information that exists in YouTube and like all the content on YouTube outweighs like all of Google. Which sounds kind of like, at first it's like, I don't know about that, but then when you think about it, like videos are it's a lot of information in a video.
It could be bandwidth. Yeah, it could be like,
I mean, does that mean like information
like gigabytes? Like
I think that's what they were trying to refer to. I mean, that's like all that would make that would only make sense.
Because if it's just text based, I mean, there's a ton of information on the web, whether you think it's like good or not. But like, there's like a ton of that shit out there. So I don't know. It's weird because all you have to do is look at Facebook and see all these fake like blogs and stuff that are out there posting just like all these posts
actually
every day.
This may go against the whole self-promoting thing we were talking about, but I had to deactivate my Facebook the other day.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
I had to do it. I never used it, and then whenever I did log on, I just kept seeing things that I didn't want to see. And my best friend Mitchell Martin, he recently tried to delete his Facebook, and he had some complications with it. Like even though he deactivated his account, they kept like sending him text messages and doing all this shady shit. And then he like,
oh really?
Yeah, he said it was basically like he felt like so infringed upon like his privacy. Because they have all your privacy on Facebook. They have all of that. So
it's
him like, what's that?
No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that he, even in trying to get rid of it and trying to walk away from Facebook and delete it, they were still just like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" Sending him text messages, sending him all these things. So I was like, "Yeah, I don't
come back to us."
Yeah, right. Like come back to us. Like, no, thank you.
My precious, like
I would love.
I never logged on to begin with. I never talked to anyone. I figure if anyone wants to get hold of me, they find me on Instagram.
I would love to delete my Facebook, but my grandma just discovered it for the first time, and like she's like lovely and like all the pictures and stuff.
My mom just started the page.
Like, they love commenting on
like how she can keep up. They're like, "Oh, I can see your pictures now." I'm like, oh.
So they just now get on the wave, and then self promotion again. So like we promote all our page stuff on there, and like I get so much traffic from Facebook to our website that it's like, well, I can't. I'm stuck in the cycle now. Like they got me. So it's like
I'd be open minded to creating an artist page like Facebook, like just simply for photography. But like as far as just having a Facebook where I can just check on
personal stuff, it's definitely not that anymore.
Over it, man.
It's toxic.
Somebody
it's really toxic.
With something new. Like MySpace had its run, and then Facebook had its run. Like what's next? Something new needs to come along that get people interested again, because I feel like there's a
hashtag the collective.
Got some ideas.
What is it?
Nah, but yeah, definitely like Facebook is definitely like toxic at this point. When you go on there, you don't even like when you first get on there. It's like when first was coming out, it was cool. You could see what friends are posting, like all of that, and like. But now you don't even see what they're posting. You just see like reshared videos and reshared posts, like articles, fake articles, and just so much arguing on there. It's ridiculous. Like I wish I could
just found out right before I deleted it. I found out too that you can go into settings and like where it has all the like information about ads. Like it has you categorized based on what you click, and it had me categorized as a liberal.
Yeah,
So it was like sending me like liberal ads and stuff like that, and I like had to click on that and just like click like it was like liberal, conservative, and like something else. It was like no option. I think I clicked the no, like don't label me as anything. Like forget this. And then I'm like, okay, if I'm already hearing these settings doing all the shit, I might as well just delete it.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of it's like Facebook is like lit, like being in a sound echo chamber. Because whatever like you like or whatever maybe you look at, click on, they're just gonna keep showing you more and more of that. So it just kind of reinforces what you're
And
already
Instagram
thinking.
is like that as well. I've noticed with Instagram, it's not even about what you like anymore. It's about what you click on.
Yeah.
Like
so whatever you click on, they're just gonna keep showing you more and more of it.
Even though I'm a photographer and I love photography, I spend most of the time on Instagram looking at food blogs and food pages. I love those, like the Tasty page. Like I love those where it's like quick little 45-second videos of like, 15-minute dinners. Dude, freaking awesome. Like, okay, I'm okay with that oversaturation. That can happen all as much as they want. I don't have no problem with that.
Yeah.
So and I'm always clicking on those videos, and then when I go to my explore page, all I get is more food videos. They're just like, this guy really likes food. And I'm okay with that.
Speaking of Facebook, they just admitted that they scan all the photos and links sent like through their messenger app.
Oh, great.
Oh. The private messaging app.
Yeah. and the number of people affected in that like Cambridge thing just went up to like 87 million or something like that. Started at like 30 million.
Oh.
They said people's data, like how many people's data was breached in like their Cambridge Analytica thing that's been going on. They started out saying it was like 30 million people affected, and now it's like 87 million people affected.
Good God.
So there's no privacy on Facebook. So I just don't even post anything like that's of any importance on my page for like at least 10 years now. So it's all just like basketball pictures and just stuff I share from Instagram. So
yeah. If my grandma made an a Facebook, I'd reconsider it. Can't let grandma down, man.
Yeah, grandma, my older uncle, he got my uncle got his first profile picture on there, and leaving comments and stuff.
I don't know.
So it's like, I guess.
I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but it's my parents are like super into Facebook now. There's almost been like a transition into like the age group that's like using Facebook. Like my parents are always on Facebook now.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's like now they finally figured out what it's used for, and they can't get enough of it.
It's kind of weird, but
I feel like it's how they find a lot of their friends, though.
Yeah, true. If you're if you come from that generation where they didn't have cell phones, or they just have to like write down their home phone number and like your little notebook.
I mean, that's how I used it at first too.
Well, I had to explain to an aunt like what trolling is, because she doesn't like they don't see like they don't get this context like we do. Like we've been in this environment for so long that we understand like what not to take so seriously and what to take seriously. Like they don't get that. Everything they see like right now, they're just taking so literally and so seriously. Like they're like appalled by some of the things they see posted. I'm just like, well, this is the internet. Like you can't like this is not a place where you're going to see like wholesome stuff. Or even like have a decent conversation with somebody that you don't know. Like so, like you should probably just stop arguing with people in comments because you're just wasting your time. Like so, it's
God.
For real.
The keyboard warriors
phase right now. Yeah, older people don't understand that yet. But.
It's sad how people. I think it's totally ruined communication. Like how people can just get behind the keyboard on Facebook or on Instagram and just become this like know-it-all. Like you're sitting there thinking of your reply for like 10 minutes. Like it's completely unlike what real conversation is. You know what I mean? Like you could be be like a slow person who's not witty, not clever. Like you could be that guy that gets roasted all the time in your group circle. But or like in your circle, in your friend group, but on the internet, you got all the time in the world to think of your reply.
You're that guy.
Let's be real. If you really have friends, most of the people that really have friends are not the ones commenting. Like they don't have time to be on there having full-blown arguments like for days. Like some arguments, I look at the threads and like they go back for like days. I'm just like, you have time. Oh my god!
Under some YouTube videos, I've seen
YouTube
stuff,
is the worst.
And I'm like, how are people
the worst.
invested? Like they're talking like they're having deep like deep conversations in the comment thread, like back and forth, and I'm like, how are these?
I don't
people
even
so
see deep
invested in
conversations.
this
I just
shit?
see like either really racist or really sexist or just stuff that they would never say.
Oh, well, that's the thing. You can't even look at a comment section and not expect to see like some racist, like random thing just because people do it just to like do it now. It's like a troll. They're just like, here's a thing, and you're just like, okay. So like you just
It's like
expect
a
it. And you
contest now,
just
just to
scan
see
over
who can
that.
say like the most horrendous shit online.
Have you ever been in a shit posting page or seen
Right.
one? Because that's literally all those things are. So
Yeah,
You know what?
a shit posting page, like
Like designated for that?
yeah.
like Reddit or something.
There's just like my boyfriend's in like a Star Wars specific one, and it's just like all of those people you just mentioned that are slow and aren't witty at all, but they think that they're hot shit, and they spend like their entire day like thinking of what they're gonna say when they like reply to this other stupid person online, and it's exactly
Yeah.
what it's for. But
I mean,
Yeah.
So painful to see. To me, seeing that is like watching two people who don't know how to say goodbye to each other in real life. That's like the worst situation to be in when you have like people that are just like, okay, bye, okay, bye, okay, we'll see you next time. Okay, it's like, dude, just end it. Just freaking end it. You could keep replying all day. Oh, and you're like saying,
And they start turning, but they do a wave again and like look over the shoulder.
oh God, it's the most
All right, well.
painful thing ever. It's like, dude, just say goodbye and go on with life. There's nothing worse than that.
I mean, I'm
That's how
curious
I feel
sometimes.
about those pages.
I
What's
click
that?
on like Instagram pictures and comments sometimes. I'm curious to just see like who these people are saying this stuff, and then like every time I click on one, I just laugh at the picture of the profile, and I'm just like, okay, that makes sense, and I just like leave, and just like I can't even like it just seems like somebody that would do it. Like the people that are doing this is just like they have nothing better to do, so it's I don't know.
like,
It's
do you have a
incredible.
job?
Yeah,
The-
they're having fun.
Incredible the amount of meme pages on Instagram
Oh,
and
it's
how much of Instagram's content is made up of memes.
Meme.
it's at least 70%
Meme life.
meme now, at least.
It's changing the way it's
I got a friend who is like the queen of memes. Like she just will not stop. That's her daily entertainment is the new meme.
She make money
She just
because people make big
no,
money.
she
off
doesn't
memes
make
now.
them. She's getting people clicks basically. She's like she's the one finding the new hotness and passing it around because she's.
No,
just
I
so
mean,
laughing
like,
at
what do you
it.
think? Like, what's his name? Fuck Jerry, and then like,
yeah, fuck Jerry.
beige cardigan,
forgot
and then
about
like, how you think they got money, like, or famous? They literally just took other people's memes and just reposted them, and then like people just followed their shit, and then like, so then now because you have all these followers and people commenting on it, all these companies are paying the money just to keep doing that, so or to promote, like, do an ad every now and then in between like their shit.
It's its own form of art, memes. Really
Yeah.
is.
It kind of
To
is.
some
I mean,
extent.
some of them are really funny. Some for sure.
So yeah, it's a form of communication.
Yeah.
I saw one meme about memes that was basically saying that we've come full circle. Like, I mean, that people used to use hieroglyphics in the ancient world, or like, the pictures instead of words. We're right back to that. We're using memes for communication. It's funny how you have those memes that don't even have any text in them at all. It's just like a
Right.
You
it's
just
like a
get
photo
it.
with a caption, and you just get it. You know exactly what it's relatable.
Yeah, it's definitely
Mhm.
interesting. The internet's interesting. The internet's definitely an interesting place to be. I can only imagine what it would be
I
in
never
like,
thought they would
say,
take
like
fire
50
like
years.
this though.
I can't even imagine.
Well, one thing I've
Yeah.
kind of tied into the whole social media thing and like photography and using photography for social media. I think that this is just kind of a phase. Like, I think eventually it'll all just blow over, and people have to go back to just talking to each other in person rather than sitting there on their cell phones and building these fake profiles and accounts that you have like your
Mhm.
Instagram persona and who you are, and then it's like who you are in real life, and it's not
Yeah,
even the same
very
person.
different. Yeah.
Like that will all, it has to blow over. I mean, a lot of there's just as many people who are aware that it's a problem as there are who are just like mindlessly doing it. So I think it's got to give at some point.
I mean, the thing is it's just the vocal minority. So the majority of people who know it's a problem and who look at this and think like, oh, you're a fucking idiot. Like, I'm not even, they don't comment. They don't say shit like that. It's the people that do have time, have nothing else to do, that are commenting and are saying all this like outrageous shit. And it's just, they're just doing it so much that it seems like everybody's doing it, but it's really not. Like, most people I know that don't comment on anything.
True. That's a good point. Yeah, I don't do it. Try not to.
Or we could go full blown Ready Player One, and everybody just lives in a virtual world, and like your online persona is you.
I'm not opposed to that idea as long as I get to create a character that I get to pick my. Because I would definitely make myself like 6'1" or 6'2". I'm like 5'7" right now, and that's it for me. I'm not getting any taller. My dad's 6'3", so my whole life I've just been waiting to get to that height. But no, dude, it's not happening. I got my mom's genes. My mom's side of the family, they're all like short brown people.
Yeah,
like Italian. I don't know what they are, but like they might even be gypsy. Like my family's Romanian, so it could be anything. Yeah, if I could live in a Ready Player One world like that, definitely make myself taller. Maybe a little bit.
Are you first generation?
Yeah. So I immigrated to America with my family in 2004.
Okay.
We moved to Oroville, California, straight from Romania, which is so random because Oroville's like
I don't even
the
know
smallest.
Where that is.
It's like so.
In the middle of nowhere.
Casey, your guys' last guest, she lives in Chico, which is about maybe 25-30 minutes from Oroville.
Okay.
It's up in the hills.
Mm-hmm.
It's up in the hills.
There's a big lake.
Yeah, there's a big lake that almost the dam almost broke last year when we had like super heavy rainfall, and it was kind of funny to see because when that happened, it went viral, and all these people were like, it became a conspiracy thing where people were like using that incident and trying to say that the government's they're not servicing this dam because they want the dam to break and they want the Sacramento Valley to flood and all these people to die. Just like when the wildfires happened and people were like, yeah, they're using laser beams to like destroy these houses. Like, it was so interesting because people were totally buying into it. Like, if you live in Wichita, Kansas, and you have no idea where Sacramento or Oroville is, and you see that and you don't know anything about the area, you'd be like, yeah, that sounds likely. But I'm an hour away from Oroville, and I've known about the Oroville Dam ever since I lived here. And everyone's always known that it's kind of it's a little bit of a sketchy place if it gets too full.
Conspiracy theorists, another internet thing that is just, if you go down that rabbit hole, it's like you'll just be left speechless, honestly. Like some of the shit that people come up with.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're at risk if you do something like that because you might find some information that once you see that you can't unsee it or can't unthink it. And then you can't ever have a normal conversation with anyone again.
Yeah, I mean, my thing with conspiracy theories is that, like, most of the time, they only search for information that, like, can back up what they think. If there's anything contrary, like, they won't even bother looking at it or even consider it. So it's kind of like, why are we even having a conversation? My brother, case in point, he's one of those, he's a flat earther. And
oh, God.
No.
I got to have him on this podcast one time. It would be hilarious. But
that's another thing I get so much of on Instagram. I get the flat earth pages all the time. For some reason, Instagram thinks that I'm a conspiracy theorist.
Hey, you've been looking at some real sketch pages, man.
It's like, just because I'm an artist and I have like, some couple of I have some alternative viewpoints about things. I'm not like everyone else when it comes to my opinions, but I'm not like that crazy. I don't think that the freaking earth is flat. But for some reason, Instagram thinks that I am. That's what they try to push onto me all the time.
It's like this strange period where we don't trust science.
Have you had a conversation with your brother about this?
Oh, all the time. All the time. He tries to like give me books and stuff to read, and I'm just like, bro, like, you didn't even read in high school, and now like you want me to read all these books. Oh yeah, there's books. There's websites. There's like entire podcasts dedicated to all this stuff. Like it's
the flat Earth,
especially with the internet. it's like you can have all right. So here's the thing with the internet, like you can build your own community of like-minded people. So like if that's what you think, you can find other people who think that, and then because other people think it, you must think that you're right. Then that's what happens. Like, oh, all these people think it's right, so like I think it's right. Or now it's like, oh, well, I don't know how to do the math or the equations, and I don't want to even bother learning how they did it, so it's impossible. So I have conversations with them all the time, and it's literally like running around in a circle, so it's like pointless.
Mm-hmm.
It's pointless.
People picking information that sits well with them and
Yeah.
mislabeling that as a fact, where it's like just because something fits your agenda and your viewpoint doesn't make it a fact. Like,
Yeah.
it's a big difference.
Yeah.
But
Just yeah.
shoot, oh yeah, Oroville with the little town of Oroville. I completely forgot. Crazy that Casey lives like right by it in Chico, but that's why I ended up from Romania to Oroville, which is a funny story because I was 10 years old when I moved over here. It happened really quick. Like within a matter of like a year and a half, my family went from like being totally fine, comfortable in Romania to like, hey, we're moving to America. This came out of nowhere. And at first I was super against it. I'm like, I don't want to go to America. I want to stay here. But then I got kind of excited. I'm like, wait, we're going to the America that I've been seeing in movies and in cartoons. That means school lunches and burgers and milkshakes and all these things that we didn't have in Romania. I was like, okay, I'm down. So we move over here and we flew into San Francisco. And as soon as we got off the plane, we met with the guy who was our contact here, got in his car, barely made it out of San Francisco off of the Bay Bridge, and I passed out. I fell asleep. And the next thing I know, I woke up. We got to his house in Oroville. And I woke up, and I didn't get to see any of like the surrounding area or where we were. We were kind of in the rural area, so I was like, "Oh, we must be on the outskirts of the city. Like it's okay. There's skyscrapers somewhere around here." And 10-year-old me. And then the next day, the guy's like, "All right, let's go into town. I'll show you guys Oroville. I'll show you the town." And I'm like, "Yes, here we go." I get to see it. In my mind, I'm picturing the America that's like New York City. Like I'm thinking like gigantic metropolis and all this stuff. And this dude drives us into like basically like a redneck town with like there's like a Taco Bell and a McDonald's and a Walmart. Like, and I even asked my dad. I was like, "Dad, where are the big tall buildings?" And he was just like, "Shh, don't speak."
That's so funny.
It was awful, man.
I used to have a roommate who was Romanian, actually. His story's like the exact opposite of yours. His like family, they were like mechanics, and they actually moved to New York instead of Cali. So like his first time, he moved to Brooklyn when he was like your age. And then I actually met him in Colorado before I moved to New York. So I hadn't even been to New York when I met him. His name's Bogdan. But I just thought that was funny. Bogdan was cool.
And do you know why their family came over? I wonder if it was like through the same.
No, I never I don't remember, but it was literally everyone. Like his brother was married, so his brother and his wife and their 2 kids, and like literally like everybody came over. And their uncle, apparently, I think it's probably their uncle lived there already, because he had a shop that was like an official mechanic shop, but then he would send work over to like their garage, and they would do mechanic work out of the garage and get paid there. It was interesting. But
it's
I didn't
rare
have
for that many people to come over. Like,
yeah, I was interested. I was like, huh. But yeah, they were all there.
Usually when they're granting visas, it's like I've heard of a lot of instances where like a family of 4 will go in and maybe only the dad or the mom will get a visa. So that's like really crazy that many of them came over. Maybe they were able to pull some strings.
I'm not saying they all have visas. I don't even know. They could, like I said, if that's why they probably didn't have to go anywhere, and it was just at the crib, and their business was with their uncle. So
I mean,
I'm not sure they were.
Has like being like Romanian culture, has that like affected like your work? You think like does that influence like what you do? when it comes to like
Um,
photography or like your music and stuff?
I don't know if it's affected my photography as much as it's affected um how what I look for when I play music. Like, so if you remember how I said earlier
Mm.
that like a lot of these, both photography and music for me, I kind of do them in a therapeutic way where I'll sit around and do one or the other for a certain amount of time until I get that kind of feeling that I'm looking for. With music, whenever I'm making something up or whenever I'm writing something or coming up with something, almost always when I get to a point where I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool. Like I just came up with this and I like the way it sounds. It always makes me feel this like nostalgic feeling of back home. Like if I sit there and listen to it, I just see the place where I grew up. Like I have like
Mm-hmm.
these vivid memories of being a child in Romania, like and running around. We lived in a tenement building, like how you know, like the big
Yeah.
kind of like 5-story building, and we lived in an apartment. You buy the apartment, and that's like your home. And so I lived there. So there was like kind of densely populated. So there was always like a lot of little kids and running around playing outside. And I always get those images in my head when I get to a place when I create something that makes me feel a certain way. With photography, not so much. Like with photography, it's more of when I'm editing photos and I'm moving things around and changing contrast, changing the brightness, changing the color tone, all these different things. It's I'll stop when I just see something that I want to see. Whereas with music, I'll stop when I feel that nostalgic feeling of like
Mm-hmm.
missing home,
Mm.
which is not really my home because my home is here.
Mm-hmm.
I speak more English than I speak Romanian, especially over this last month. I haven't been home that much,
Mm-hmm.
so like my Romanian's like really rusty now. But
Mm-hmm.
I think just the transition and having to move from a different country and having to adjust to a new culture and constantly paying attention to how people behave, what people say to each other in certain situations, how they handle conflict. Like I became hyper aware of those things, and it's kind of in a sense, it's conditioned my mind differently
Yeah.
than the average person, and I think that ties into the artistic outlet. The like when I do photography or when I'm out taking photos, my mind's in a different place. I'm not thinking about things like everybody else, and I think that is because of the conditioning of like being an immigrant, being hyper
Mm-hmm.
aware of those things, and just social interactions. And I mean, if I was to be completely honest, to this day, I run into situations where I'm like, the only explanation I have is like, well, it's because I didn't grow up here. Like, even though I've been here for 14 years, I'll every so once in a while will run into a situation like that where I'll have a
Mm-hmm.
conflict or an argument with somebody, and I walk away from that thinking like, I just am not the same as these people. Like, I just have, I'm from a different place. Like, my
Mm-hmm.
mind's different,
Yeah.
and uh, it's kind of like a feeling of never quite being at peace, which is something that I've learned to live with, and I've learned to, um, I'm trying to harness it to my advantage to use it for artistic purposes. That kind of feeling of never really being where you're supposed to be, or not, not really content. I think that's something that a lot of artists deal with. The more artists that I meet and have conversations with, it seems to be a
Mm-hmm.
commonality, is this kind of like different, very different outlook or very different experience with what life is like, compared to, not to sound condescending, but compared to like the average person, like the people that just kind of do what they're supposed to do, go through things. They don't really venture out of their comfort zone. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing that even makes somebody artists is that they tend to go places that the normal person doesn't go mentally. Like going down the rabbit hole, and that ties into even like how it's okay for artists to experiment with drugs. Like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
artists experiment with drugs and they get to these low places, or they get down the rabbit hole, and then they go to these places and they come back and create content that reflects that. And to most people who haven't done that, who haven't taken that plunge. It's like meaningful content. It's something that they look at, and it has a lot of, it's like, whoa, this is interesting. This is, you can't, that's what makes really good art, is when you see something and you don't really understand it the first time around. You kind of, like, some of my favorite songs or photos that I've seen are ones that when I see at first, I'm like, the fuck? Or when I hear them and I'm like, I don't like this. But then you digest it more and you take more time to understand it, and then it becomes so much more meaningful. So I think that kind of discomfort with where I am, like being here, transitioning here, has made its impact on me and on my work and what I put out, or specifically what I see as something that I want to share. Because I have a lot of photos and I have a lot of things that I don't think like, this is something I want to share. It's when something really, really hits home for me, or I'm just like so excited off it that I want to share it with people.
Yeah. I mean, I always say, like, how can you truly create if you don't have experiences? So, like, I don't think it's possible, honestly.
Yeah, and sometimes even I know it may sound strange, but pain itself can be something that is very inspiring. And
no, definitely. I mean,
it's like
some of the best musicians are some of the most troubled people, and some of the best, like, comedians and stuff, like the most troubled, have the most trauma and tragedy in their life. It definitely is a thing that experience changes people, and like the way you see things and the way you express things, for sure.
I mean, the art I've made that's been like the most like received like by many people has been like trauma based work. like I guess the piece that everyone knows me for is like this Trayvon Martin drawing I did with Emmett Till in 2012. So like that's like a story about a black kid that got shot, and just that alone, just me seeing people's reactions to that over the years, like the same year it happened, and then after the verdict and all this stuff, I got to see how like media works and stuff. It was interesting. It's weird because everybody, if something happens, then
it seems like the more
gravitates towards trauma,
Sorry, I'm getting you a little slow. It was a little choppy. Can you still hear me?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. I can hear you now. It was just for like a couple seconds.
Cool.
It's interesting how pieces like that are deeply emotional and are heavy with emotional content, or very dense. Those are the things that attract people. Because it's it's something for everyone to. Anyone could pick something out of that. It doesn't matter where you come from or what your experience is. That's why, and I always wonder, what makes good music really good music? Like, aside from the shit that they shove down your throat, that they play on the radio, like, what makes something that's good music,
right.
like, that stands the test of time? Like, music from 30, 40 years ago that's still, you could hear it today and be like, yeah, this is good. Like, what makes it so good? And a lot of the times it's just, it's a mix of emotions. It's not just one linear thing. Like, I got my start playing guitar, playing metal, like a lot of metal and death metal, and like things that kind of heavy and intense and not everyone's cup of tea, but it's good. It's cool as far as technicality goes. Like, if you start playing guitar and you start with metal, you'll definitely develop skill really quickly because it's so technical. But as far as
it's extremely technical.
As far as emotional content, it's pretty linear. There's not. I mean, it's kind of just like pissed off most of the time. There's not. It's not very.
It's always
dynamic.
Intensity. It's not. Yeah.
And that's why you don't hear it on like popular, pop radio or anything like that. But as opposed to other music that, like some of the best music, I think you can't even really define it by a certain genre. Like, you could say, classic rock or whatever, but, really, really good music usually kind of transcends one specific genre. It blends together different things, and it's that combination of different genres and different emotions and different feelings that makes it attractive to not just, one group of people. It's many different people that have different interests. But yeah, at the expense of pain or whatever.
Shannon, do you have anything?
I just was wondering, I don't know, I mean, I've known you for a long time. I'm just wondering, like, how you think your photography's evolved since, high school or college, like, as you've grown up. I mean, obviously your skill has gotten a lot better, even though you were really good to begin with, but I don't know, just, do you think growing up has affected your photography? What you like to take pictures of, or how you take pictures, or...
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that as I get older, I've become more underwhelmed. When I was younger, it didn't, it wouldn't take long. Say I would spend 5-10 minutes on the internet, and I would be able to find photography, other work, or music that was appealing to me. Whereas now I'm older, it'll be sometimes even weeks until I come across content that makes me feel something or stirs something inside of me. It just takes me longer generally to find something to associate with. And because of that lack of, I tend to go out and want to create whatever it is that I'm looking for on my own. And the catch-22 with that is that I usually have no idea what it is that I'm looking for until I see it. So I'll go out and I'll shoot with something in mind. By the end of that shoot, by the time I'm done editing those photos, it'll be something that's completely different than what I had in mind that I end up picking as like, okay, this is what I want from this shoot. Or, I used to go out and take photos of fairly basic things like sunsets and, even the name, my Instagram name, Familiar Spot, refers to this field that was a walking distance from my house at the dead end of this main street that was right by me. I used to walk out there all the time to take photos because it was a really good place to get sunset photos. It was like kind of high up on a hill. And that it became like a comfortable place for me and a familiar place for me. So when it came time to make an Instagram and make a name, I was like, Familiar Spot, that makes sense to me. And, but I would always go out there and take photos of clouds and sunsets and, things that looked cool, things that were aesthetic. As I exhausted that, as I did more and more of that and became less excited by it, I naturally just started looking for anything that was exciting. So it could have been photos of people, or photos of animals, it could be like a wall, just a wall that looks cool because there's a shadow falling across this wall a certain way. Things that are just slightly out of the ordinary, or things that the average person might like walk right past or drive right past and not think twice about. Those are usually the things that I get excited about or gravitate towards. I think as I've gotten older, my work itself has kind of gotten older. Like, I don't think it's easily digestible. I look at my photography as something that you could sit there and look at for a little while, and it could make you think certain things. Depends on your mood too. I definitely think that it's become more emotional than what it used to be. The photos that I do pick and the photos that I do get excited about and want to share, I almost always have some sort of emotional attachment towards them, where they make me feel a certain way. They remind me of a time in my life, or they remind me of a person, or they, remind me of what I was going through back then. I think it's become more personal to me as the years have gone on. There were a lot of times when I used to go out and shoot because, especially when I first started using Instagram, I'd go out and take photographs, because I wanted to find something that I could share so I could get likes and get people's response. Whereas now I go out and shoot because I want to find something that's going to give me some sort of peace or give me some sort of closure, or fill whatever it is that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Definitely. So we're gonna start to wrap this podcast up, but before we do, I'm just gonna end with some news items that happened over the past couple weeks. You guys can comment as you like. Just stuff that popped out. Sticking to art. So 21 artists recently just received $6.7 million after graffiti was painted over, like graffiti that they had painted. Yeah, they had graffiti on a cluster of buildings in New York, and it was painted over without warning. And it had been years. Had been a site of a graffiti project called 5 Points. I don't know if you know that, Reese. But yeah, and they just got paid $6.75 million.
Wow.
Oh, God.
Nice.
Oh, I
Nice.
don't care what kind of artist you are, that kind of money. Oh, God. Could be an artist of any medium. $6.7 million. Holy crap.
So that kind of ties into what we were talking about last week with
That's
Casey,
pretty
and you know how you were saying artists have no rights. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Who
Well, apparently
said that?
graffiti does. You know, graffiti artists do have rights. And they
I
do have
told you
copyright.
on here that graffiti artists always get paid. That's how they don't get cleared in music videos. I said that last.
Well, I was just saying.
the
Just
graffiti
got paid
artists.
over by, I don't know if it was by the city or by the owner of the buildings, but they won the lawsuit for 6.75. So it's a nice little payday for some graffiti.
It's incredible.
Nice.
Well, there was that recent issue, too, with that
Oh,
graffiti
yeah.
artist that H&M used his work without
Yep,
a...
we talked about
Oh,
that
shit.
last.
We need to
Okay,
get that
yeah.
list.
Was that
About
towards the end
last
of the podcast? Maybe I should.
It was.
listen all the
It
way
was.
through. Damn it. Okay.
We're not gonna go back over it, but for everybody listening for the first time, you should probably listen to that section. It was a good segment. You'd be surprised by the argument and the side that our artist Reese took, but yeah, well, good little discussion there. But next item is we were just talking about kind of the future and like the toxic nature of stuff, and they just released a trailer for this Fahrenheit 451. I don't know if you guys know that book.
Yeah.
From
I
HBO.
read it in high school.
And yeah, so Michael B. Jordan from Black Panther.
Yeah.
What did you
True
not read
Station,
in
all
high
those.
school, Shannon? Good God.
What have I not read since all I did for 4 years was read? So, yeah. Anyways. Michael
I
B.
just called
Jordan,
you out
I'm
there.
sold. Michael B. Jordan, I don't care what it is, I'll watch it. So, yeah.
Yeah,
you
at
don't
this
need to say
point,
anything
for
more.
sure, after Killmonger, he's definitely got my, well, even before that, from Creed, but he definitely has my vote for anything he's doing. But yeah, they just released a trailer for Fahrenheit 451. I just felt like it was a relevant topic to what we talked about, considering it is like a dystopian future where they kind of like burn books and like where knowledge and facts are like power and power, and like the system tries to control everything that is out there. And yeah, so
Interesting. This is a movie? They released a trailer for it?
it is a movie, HBO movie. So HBO is trying to do the kind of challenge Netflix and original films.
I
now.
love anything dystopian future related.
Yeah, so you might want to check that out. Coming out May 19th, Fahrenheit 451, starring Michael B. Jordan and Michael Shannon.
Alright.
So
Two Michaels.
Yeah, I try to make my photographs look like I'm taking them from some sort of dystopian future, but it doesn't always work out. Those are the most exciting photos where it's something dilapidated and it looks like the world has ended. There's a lot of that in Sacramento to photograph.
Yes, there is.
So you might get some shots in the movie. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely a source of inspiration.
But so keep with Black Panther. Black Panther is going to be the first official movie to be shown. Well, could be the first official movie to be shown in Saudi Arabia after their like 35-year ban on cinema is being uplifted.
I didn't even know there was a ban, but that's cool that they're gonna get
I didn't either.
rid of it.
Wait, Saudi
it kind of
Arabia
makes sense, but
there has been a ban in Saudi Arabia on public cinemas since 1983.
That's awful.
Can they show their own, like anything made in their country, or anything? Period. They can't show.
Well, countries like that, I've been in a couple countries like that, but they're pretty strict about what media and stuff gets in there and what you're allowed to actually like watch. So, I mean, even the internet, they kind of have control over it to an extent. So, I'm not sure what they can see, but this is the first time, could be the first time in like over 35 years that a public movie theater is opening with AMC.
And it's a Marvel movie.
Yes. And it's Black Panther Marvel movie. It's just crazy.
That's freaking badass.
That's awesome.
Just continuing to just make waves all over with this movie. Which is why they just became number 4 and about to be number 3 in the highest earning movies ever in the US. About to pass Titanic. It's just a gigantic movie at this point. It's crazy.
You said it surpassed Titanic?
It's like 1 million it's like 5 million away from passing Titanic. It just passed I forget the name of the movie, but it just moved into 4th place and it needs like 5 million, which it probably will do to pass, or maybe it was 1 million to pass Titanic as the 3rd highest grossing.
Hell yeah. It's a good time to be alive.
Yeah, and then we'll see what the Avengers does.
Oh, it's gonna
crush
bigger.
everything.
Yeah, it's gonna do bigger than that. Because Black Panther just passed the Avengers, so Avengers for sure I think is gonna pass Black Panther again, which is crazy. Marvel and Disney just writing, just printing money right at this point.
They're slaying the game.
Amazon is about to spend $1 billion on a 5-season Lord of the Rings TV series.
1 billion with a B?
Billion with the B.
Holy crap.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
They bought the rights to Tolkien's like properties for $250 million.
Shit.
Is it a revamp of the Lord of the Rings?
No, it's saying that it's going to be like a prequel of sorts, like not like The Hobbit, but maybe like I think it's be original.
Okay.
Stuff
in
that
God, there's
universe.
so much content in those books that they could probably just start a series that could run for the rest of our lives and still have things to make.
Yeah.
Like that guy created his own universe. It's insane. Did you read The Hobbit, Shannon? Did you ever read The Hobbit or any Lord of the Rings books?
No, I could never get into them. I don't even really like the movies too much. Please don't kill me for saying that, but I tried.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I
read The Hobbit. I tried reading Lord of the Rings, and I was like, this is a little bit above my reading level, so I put it down.
I actually read Lord of the Rings when I was in like 6th grade, all 3 books.
Jeez, that's pretty advanced for a 6th grader, man.
I read a lot when I was little. I did. I was always traveling and stuff, and I read a lot. And I always loved like Redwall books, and then like I moved on to Lord of the Rings, and I just got sucked in. And the books are even, like I said, the books are ridiculously dense. So there's so much of that world and stuff, and then there's just stuff that he didn't even publish that they have rights to. So it's like they're about to spend $20 million an episode for 5 seasons. So
holy crap!
Well, I can only imagine the costumes and the CGI that's going to go into that.
Yeah, $5 million more than Game of Thrones, and Game of Thrones is already impressive in their scale and the way they look. So I'm excited. Anything Lord of the Rings, I'm for.
Amazon's taking over the world. It's the only explanation.
Well, not if Trump has his way. And last thing, Steven Spielberg was talking about the Indiana Jones series, and I think he's working on another one. But he's talking about the future of it, and he was saying that he wouldn't kill off Ford at the end, but he wanted to continue the series with a female lead afterwards.
Interesting.
It's a good
I
message.
didn't hear that part.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, you would think with the name like Indiana Jones, it's kind of I mean, it works for both genders, really.
yeah. I mean, he said something like we'd have to change the name from Jones to Joan, which doesn't make sense, but yeah.
Interesting.
Huh.
Jones, isn't that his last name? So I'm
Yeah.
not understanding why he would have to change.
That's what I thought.
As long as it's better than the fourth one, because that one was horrible. But
Is that the one with Shia LaBeouf in
The
it?
one with
Yeah.
Shia LaBeouf. The crystal.
I never saw it.
skull or
I
something.
never saw
Crystal
it.
something.
The
Temple-
Crystal Skull.
yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't his best effort.
Isn't that when Shia like went off the rails and got blacklisted in Hollywood?
Nah, that was before. He still had like another Transformers in him after that. I still like Shia though. Honestly, like I still think he's a great actor. He's just weird as fuck. But so he was supposed to be the next Indiana
he's good.
Jones.
I mean,
But he kinda ruined that.
didn't he lay in a bed for science for like 60-something days?
He's done a lot of public like performance art stuff.
Yeah, and he watched all his movies like for 4 days straight in a movie
Yeah.
theater with like
movie
it was an
theater
event that other
with
people could
strangers
like pay to go to.
and
It's
just
like the
show up.
weirdest thing ever. It was like a live stream or something.
That's probably what started it. He's
Oh,
like,
wow.
he's like, I can sit down for 4 days straight and watch a movie. I could probably lay down in bed for 60 days. That was probably his inspiration.
Oh, then he had some other ones where he was like in a room and like people can come in and like do whatever they want to him. And he ended up saying like some lady like raped him. And it was just like a whole bunch of just weird stuff was going on with Shia. And he was drinking. He's like a method actor, and he was in that one movie about prohibition. I forget what it was called, but he was like in it with I want to say Tom Hardy, and then like it was like he was heavily intoxicated on set all day, and then it just kind of went downhill from there. And like
Life imitates art.
then he was rapping, and then he did the green screen like you can do it video meme whatever. Just say yes, whatever. So.
Holes was his best work. Let's just all agree on that.
Holes.
Holes was his best work.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sad.
I'm on board
Holes
with that.
is iconic.
It probably is though.
So
Yeah.
It's probably his best work.
Yep.
Yeah, could be. I can't remember everything he's been in.
Yeah. I don't know. What about his Sia music video?
Oh yeah, with the girl from Dance Moms. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then he
I
got in
guess
trouble
I'm-
for that.
You know?
I missed that
He
one.
did.
What kind of
You got
music
trouble
video?
for
Oh, you didn't see that video?
Yeah, people were saying it
That's
was
like when-
inappropriate or something because she's like, at the time she was
Yeah, they
like,
thought it
what,
was-
12 or 13, and he's like, what, 30 something? So I don't
Yeah.
know. I didn't think it was weird, but
I didn't think it was that weird. People will say anything is at this point. I mean, he's weird. Don't get me wrong.
He
He's
is
a weird
weird.
guy. But
I
I
didn't
didn't think
think
that
it
was
was
that
that
weird.
weird, but
Well, like he was doing it for a music video.
You know,
It's
I
not
was like,
he was,
eh.
you know. But whatever.
Right? I was like, what about... Yeah, I don't know. A lot of things can be weird, but...
But he just did
I don't know.
he had a movie recently. I forget what it was called, but I watched it and he was actually really good in it. So I still like Shia.
hmm I feel like I did see him in something and he was good in it, but I don't remember what it was.
I don't know. One last question. So, do you know M. Night Shyamalan movies?
no, not again.
Do I?
Yes.
Fuck yeah, I do. Hell yeah, this is a great question.
Okay.
No, it's not.
Let's go.
Simple answer. Signs or The Village?
Oh, Signs all the way.
Oh.
Yes.
Signs all day.
Yes.
Dude, that movie changed
Oh,
my
you got a
life.
point finally.
I was like 11 years old when I first saw that movie. I never thought about things the same again.
Yeah. Oh,
Boom.
man.
There you
There
go.
is.
Are you, wait, is what's the purpose of that question?
So,
Well,
It's an
I just...
ongoing feud.
this goes back a long ways, but this is an ongoing thing where Doris thinks Signs is like an absolutely horrible movie, and and he said The Village was better than Signs.
The aliens ruined the movie.
So we have to. So you have to do this. So every guest we have to ask them which one they prefer. Which one's better?
Which one's taking the lead?
Signs. For sure.
So you didn't like the way the aliens looked then?
Yeah, no, I didn't like the way the aliens looked or how they just. It was like the worst part of the movie was.
You literally don't see the alien until the very end for like 5 minutes.
That's why it ruined the whole movie. Because you weren't
5 minutes of an entire like 2-hour movie.
The whole impact of the movie and the reason you felt that way was because you didn't see them, and then you saw them, and then you didn't have that feeling anymore.
I agree.
Right?
It doesn't.
What about the?
I'm saying he ruined the movie.
What about the scene?
That was just like finding out the old people were the creatures in the woods to me.
No, it's not. Not even close, bro. That was the worst twist I've ever seen in my entire life. When she walked out of the woods and was like on the highway, I was like, "Oh fuck this, I'm done." I was like, "I'm done."
That's why they picked the blind girl, bro.
Yeah, that was the worst.
Walk out. That was hilarious.
That shit was the worst. Well, I'm not gonna say it's the worst because The Happening was by far the worst. But
yeah, The Happening.
That was one of the worst.
Very lame. That was such a disappointment.
Terrible.
Oh yeah,
it's the wind.
I can't believe it got cleared as a movie. I was like, oh,
that's a lie.
Let that happen.
What's his second worst? Avatar is his worst. He's had a lot of bad ones.
Oh, what about Lady in the Water?
Didn't see it.
Split's where it's at. I'm still sticking with that as my answer.
Wait, didn't he make
Sixth Sense is the greatest movie he's ever made in his entire life.
That's freaking incredible.
Yeah, he made The Sixth Sense.
That's the best movie he's ever made. But the question is just Signs or The Village, and Signs wins again.
Yeah, Dario made it Signs of The Village.
So for everybody out there, still keeping track for us, go ahead and put that down for Signs for me.
Put a tally
one more in the books.
I like that The Village is based in reality.
What reality is that? Please, bro.
The reality that, okay, so you act like there's no cults or nothing. That's like anybody could do that. That's just a cult right there. You just blocked them off into the woods, and then there just happened to be society outside building.
Look at that! You just made Shannon drop out of the chat. I'm done talking about this, bro.
To go that far away. It's just like all these
I'm not talking about this
on
anymore.
like the Netflix special, The Wild Wild Country.
It was done. We won. I won. So to wrap things up, we'll see if Shannon's back.
Sorry, I don't know what
Shannon's
happened.
Back.
My computer rage quit. It was done with this conversation. So
yeah, it was like right when Doris started going into his reasons of The Village. I was like, she just dropped out. So
no, it was a computer. No, nothing personal.
But thank you for listening. Today's
like
date is April 5th, 2018.
People can't make their own town and
Fearless Show.
The reality that all people younger than them would have to conceive as real. And so like that to me is more interesting than fake aliens. Sorry.
Are you still talking about this, bro?
Nope.
All right. So I'll wrap this up once again while Doris can just drop it. Once again, thank you for listening to the Fearless Show. Today's date is April 5th, 2018. My name is Dario Hunt. My co-host, Mr. Doris Walker. Our regular co-host, Shannon Griffiths.
That's me.
And our special guest today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
If you want to give people your information, where they can find you, where they can find your work.
Yeah, just on Instagram is where it's pretty much the only online gallery of my work that exists at the moment. If you just look up my name, it's one word, Familiar Spot, as one word.
Okay.
That's it. Pretty easy to find. In the future,
definitely go check out his
website.
Gotta start self promoing, man. Get that's his account for now before he gets that second IG business account. So get over there
before
and
I
follow
start
him
using hashtags.
Yeah. But once again, thanks for joining us. It's a great conversation. Talking about a lot of stuff, this and that.
Yeah, thanks for time.
Thank you.
Of course.
As always, if you guys have any questions, topic suggestions, comments about this show, past shows, or any future shows, You can do that below in the comments anywhere that this goes up on YouTube, SoundCloud, our website, Facebook, wherever. Or you can email us directly at podcast@livinglifefearless.co, or you can go to livinglifefearless.co/podcast and fill out the form, and we will get back to you, or we'll give you a shout out if we talk about one of the topics you bring up in our next show. And we will be back shortly with another show. Don't know exactly what will be or if we'll have a guest, but check back. Again, thanks for listening. Subscribe, share this if you have not done so already. And do what, Doris? Well, Doris might have just dropped out. So subscribe, share this, and keep living life fearless.
You did it.
Keep living life fearless. And we'll be back shortly. Thanks, y'all. Peace.
Bye.